It's the Andrew and Troy Show for your Friday fun one as we chat with Elias Jahshan from the Star Observer to find out the week in LGBTI news. Elias, how are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Doing well. Now let's dive straight into it by heading down to Victoria first, where I hear same-sex couples will be able to adopt under a new law. What's going on there?
The new law hasn't been approved yet. It's only been tabled in the lower house of Victorian State Parliament, and either way, it's a breakthrough. Should this law pass, Victoria would catch up with New South Wales, South Australia, and Western Australia and Tasmania. So I'm not sure about South Australia actually, but definitely Western Australia, New South Wales, ACT, and Tasmania. Same-sex couples can already jointly adopt children, and have both parents and adopted parents get recognised as parents.
Yeah.
So should this law get passed, Victoria would finally catch up with those states, and so it's a breakthrough for the state, and it's the second most populated state in Australia. So he's hoping it gets passed nicely.
Yeah, it's bizarre that they're so far behind. Is there any indication that it may not make it through the lower house, or?
Oh, of course, there's always the token shrill voice that doesn't want to do it based on religious reasons and stuff like that. But so far, there seems to, on the whole, quite a bipartisan support from both Labor and Liberal. Most of the Liberals, as far as I'm concerned, are in favour of it, and most of the Labor people are in favour of it as well. I believe I could be wrong, but I believe both parties in Victoria have a conscious vote on the matter. And it seems looks like it's quite likely it will pass.
Okay, so once it passes the lower house, what happens to it then? It goes to the upper house?
It goes to the upper house, yes. And then once it passes the upper house, they decide on the date it gets enacted. And,
yeah.
So once it passes the upper house and then the date comes around, it gets enacted from that date.
Fantastic. So at the moment, as it stands, same-sex couples, they can't adopt jointly or at all?
No, yeah, as it stands, anyone can adopt if you're single. But if you're in a same-sex relationship and you want to adopt a child, only one half of that relationship will be eligible to adopt as a single parent, I think.
Wow.
So the other parent, there'll be there's no legal connection, there's no protection to have two parents as the adopted parents. So yeah, I mean, then again, some of these kids were from prior marriages or from prior relationships where the spouse passed away. So a new partner comes along, and they might want to be the new adopted parent of that child.
Yeah,
so
good point.
It's not a black and white situation. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. But this new bill would allow for a more would make adoption for same-sex couples far more accessible and far more equal on terms, pretty much on par with heterosexual couples.
Yeah. Now let's head up to Queensland. Some interesting news is unfolded about the publication Q News.
Yeah, Q News is one of the three main LGBTI publications in Queensland. It's with Queensland Pride and also Star Observer as well, where we distribute in Queensland. The owner of Q News, Ray Mackworth, was just declared bankruptcy and was found guilty of workplace contraventions under the Fair Work Act. Not through the work that he's been doing at Q News, because his business owns Q News and it used to own a sex on premises venue in Brisbane called Club Cruise. It's through a former employee of Club Cruise that he was found, that he was sued for not paying superannuation and including annual leave and just pretty much contravening the Fair Work Act as a whole.
Yeah.
And because he declared bankruptcy, the future of Q News is up in the air. We are still not completely sure whether Q News will be able to continue because Ray Macareth has declared bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So who knows? And it's just interesting. This came to light pretty much 2 or 3 days after our friends at samsam.com.au were acquired by Evolution Media.
Yeah, I want to get into that.
Evo Media, sorry.
Evo Media. Yeah, I want to get into that a little bit more. We are chatting with Elias Jahshan from the Star Observer. Elias, I just want to jump back to Q News. Didn't they do a huge crowdfunding campaign recently?
Yeah. A few months ago, actually, it was after Mardi Gras they did it. They did a crowdfunding campaign to raise $20,000, and they succeeded.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. It's unknown where that money went and what's going to happen with that money.
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
It is a very good question. It's a fair question, but it's very easy to speculate, and I don't want to speculate on what's happening with Q News.
Of course not.
It is quite clear that the future of Q News is unknown. It is still running, as far as I'm concerned. It's still operating.
Yeah.
But in the near future or long-term future, I don't know. No one. It's quite unclear because of the business that owns Q News has declared bankruptcy. So when the business that owns you has no money, where's the money going to come from?
Well, exactly. I'd hate to be a staff member on that publication. Maybe Evo, even though Evo Media seems to be throwing around the cash at the moment, maybe they can buy them.
I beg your pardon? Who knows? Maybe Evo Media can think about that.
Yeah.
And they're Queensland rich, but Evo Media already has Queensland pride in Queensland.
Well, they had Essex here in Australia, and they've just in New South Wales, and they've just bought Same.
Essex in Sydney, and Melbourne Community Voice in Melbourne, and Blaze in Adelaide.
Yeah. Have we noticed anything different about Same since the purchase by Evo?
No. Same is still operating as it is. There have been no changes at all with Same since Evo Media purchased Same. So they're still operating as they are. I think the only change that Same has had is a change of office venues. That's it.
Okay, fair enough. That's always good. Hopefully they remain independent as their own news source.
And it's always good to have competitors in LGBTI media. So
right.
Otherwise we get lazy.
That's true. Now let's move on to something really fun. Good news for Sydney designer Timothy Kubo. I think I pronounced his last name correctly. He's just won a pretty amazing competition.
Yeah, he entered a costume competition where the winner of this competition would have their costume worn by Miss Universe Australia at the actual Miss Universe contest.
Wow.
So Tim was up against three other costume designers from around Australia, and as far as we know, he was the only openly gay costume designer. And his design, which was inspired by Dame Edna and also by the Opera House and stuff like that, it was all blue. It had the clear reference to Dame Edna's glasses.
As a headpiece.
Yeah, it won the most number of votes, and so he's expected to see his design strutting the catwalk for Australia during Miss Universe.
Yeah, he gets to fly over there too. Congratulations to him. Elias, thank you so much for chatting with us today here on the Andrew and Troy Show. Of course, Star Observer, your monthly magazine, is out next Thursday. And of course, daily news on the website, www.starobserver.com.au. Elias, thanks so much, and we'll chat next week.
Thank you so much, guys.